Good Friday afternoon to you. It's 4 o'clock, time for Sports4CLE. Thanks for joining us. Browns putting the final touches on preparation for the Carolina Panthers. They'll have some meetings tomorrow, then they will head to Carolina to get the season underway. Some news out of Berea earlier today. Not great news. As we take a look at the injury report, Kevin Stefanski reporting that Greedy Williams' hamstring not only out for the opener, but will be out for a little while. Says he feels bad for Greedy Williams. Conklin, a game-time decision has not been ruled out yet, but certainly not good to go as of yet. Let's take a look at this as well. This is from Dov Kleiman, and it is losing streaks, or actually winless streaks, in season openers. And the Browns have a 17-game winless streak, and it is active. And you see the next two closest in the history of the NFL winless streaks in season openers. The Eagles in the 60s and 70s, and the Commanders, it was the Redskins in the 50s and 60s at 9. The Browns almost doubling that, as it has been 17 straight winless openers. Last win was in 2004, 20-3 over the Ravens. They did tie in 2018, the Steelers, 21 all. All right, with all that, let's welcome in Jeff Risdon, BrownsWire.com. Jeff, Greedy Williams, that's a loss. It gives Martin Emerson some real playing time very quickly.
Yeah, and I'm excited about that. I thought Emerson looked great in the preseason and training camp, and I thought he was a very good prospect. He's a very natural replacement here. It's trial by fire. The Panthers, they do have some receiving talent. You don't want to sleep on it, but I think Emerson's ready. I think it's going to be a good to go. Look, obviously it stinks for Greedy Williams. This is a guy who has tried very hard to stay on the field and just can't. I think this is, in a way, is justification for taking Emerson where they did. And making what a lot of people thought was a little bit of a reach at a cornerback position where they appeared to have some depth. Now you see why they did it, and now we're going to see how well it works right away.
Yeah, the other thing is that opener streak, I don't know what to say about it. There's not much you can say. You would think by sheer accident you would win one in the last 17 season openers.
Yeah, it's unfathomable. And I remember I remember visions of Charlie Fry getting pulled at halftime, Derek Anderson coming in. I remember, so many bad openers where you realized that the quarterback who, everybody was buying their jersey in the offseason was going to be another sad name to that infamous long jersey that has all those god-awful names on it now. It does seem like it's like sheer blind luck that they would get a win at some point. They have the longest active streak by quite a bit. I believe the Colts are at 7, and I don't think there's anybody else that's over 2, believe it or not. So it's pretty crazy that that winless streak is where it is. But look, the Carolina Panthers are a beatable team. The Browns should expect to win this one, even in the state that they're in. I really hope it ends. It's got to end. It has to end, right?
I would think. The other thing that has come out, Mary Kay Cabot, a frequent guest on this show, reporting the Baker Mayfield and Myles Garrett disconnect was even worse than we had thought. We knew it was pretty bad. And this from a article that is on cleveland.com by Mary Kay Cabot. As the season went along, the losses mounted. This was last year. Chasm between Mayfield and Garrett widened to the point where Garrett felt something had to change for the 2022 season, whatever that might be. It also delineates how Garrett was not happy about Odell Beckham Jr. being cut and Mayfield's role in having Beckham be departed, released, as it were. So, we have heard a lot about the dysfunction, and it might even been worse than we've heard, Jeff.
Yeah, and it's not really surprising to see that. If anybody who's followed along with the Browns saga for any amount of time knows that there was friction between Baker and Garrett, and Baker and a lot of other people in that locker room. It wasn't just Myles that felt that way. Obviously, when you're the best player on the defense, and a chance to be a defensive player of the year possibly, and you're dealing against the quarterback who's, the guy who's finally stopped the infamous jersey I just referenced. It's tough to choose sides on that, but I will say I think the Browns made a good decision in choosing Garrett's side. He is not without some blame in this himself. You don't want to completely exonerate him and put everything on the guy that's out the door now. But Baker is a guy who, I think we saw this when we knew this, and we like this about Baker, by the way, when he came in. He's a guy who likes to be agitated, who likes to have some windmill to tilt at. And he will push those buttons. And I think a lot of the Browns players, not just Myles Garrett, but he being the most prominent of them, were really tired of having those buttons pushed. And I think he was. And by the way, Mary Kay did a fantastic job on summarizing all of the chaos that was going on behind the scenes. Look, a lot of us knew that there was things going on. I don't think we knew it was quite that bad, but it does help explain why they were so hell-bent on getting rid of Baker. And so far, everybody on the team seems to look. I know there's quarterback dysfunction, but if you ask the Browns to a man, they're like, we're in a good spot with our quarterback right now, better than what we were and what we could have been. And that, I think that's still pretty telling about how they felt about Baker and why he's in Carolina now.
Yeah, and the ironic thing is that that's who they face week 1. So what to watch for? This from ESPN. Browns at the Panthers, and it's the rookie tackle making his first NFL start against Myles Garrett for Baker Mayfield to have a chance against his former team. Nwaku must hold his own against the league's third-ranked player in sacks last season. We're going to go to the bold prediction from this. Mayfield will turn the ball over twice in the first quarter, but then throw 2 touchdown passes in the fourth quarter to give the Panthers a chance against his former team. Jake Trotter, again, knows Baker Mayfield pretty well. Stat to know, Brissett, 14-23 in his career as a starter, but he's looking to win 3 straight starts for the second time in his career, 2019. However, he did lose his only other season-opening start in 2019 while with the Colts. And when you look at all of those, again, I think the key is going to be absolutely, Myles Garrett getting after Baker Mayfield, but even more so, the Browns need to be able to run the football.
100%. That's your game plan. We know this about Baker from watching him for years. He's a guy that if the opposing team is out there for a 12-play drive that chews up a bunch of yards and a bunch of clock, he's going to come out and try to make up for it in 1 or 2 plays. That's just his nature. He will bristle against a conservative attack coming back the other way. He gets antsy, and that's when he makes mistakes. It's a perfect game plan to go up against Baker Mayfield. Look, I liked Ike Ekwonu in the draft process. I thought he's going to be pretty good. From what I saw in the preseason, what I've gleaned from people who I respect who watch offensive line, Myles Garrett is a very bad matchup for him, especially if Myles can do a little bit of an outside move and then cut it back inside. Look, crossing a rookie tackle's face is the easiest way to success all the time. You saw it with Jedrick Wills a couple of years ago. You saw it with Jack Conklin when he was in Tennessee. You see it with a lot of guys. That's the recipe for success. And if you have to make them worry about, a second level blitz or, a stunt or something like that. Now the lines aren't, or the line isn't great inside, but outside you've got some guys that can move around. And I really like the idea of attacking that, making Baker uncomfortable, making an already uncomfortable Baker even more uncomfortable. Give me that. Give me that, please.
Yep. And pressure from the tackle area always is something that is concerning for him. All right, this from Pro Football Focus. Jacoby Brissett, 2021. PFF grade when under pressure, almost 71, best in the entire NFL. And he did play some games for the Dolphins. So that is a positive stat for Jacoby Brissett. But again, Kevin Stefanski doesn't want to put the game in the hands of Jacoby Brissett, I don't think. That's not what you do. That's not your best player offensively. Put the ball in the hands of your best players.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that goes along with that is when he's under pressure, Brissett speeds up his decision-making process. And we know this from watching him just in the preseason. When he takes too long to do things, bad things happen. speeding his clock up actually helps the offense with Jacoby Brissett. It's weird, but some guys are like that. You talked about Andrew Luck before we came on the air. That was a guy, when he wasn't pressured, he wasn't as good as he was when he was pressured. I'm not saying that Brissett is anywhere close to Andrew Luck, but there are that type of quarterback that's out there that tends to thrive when their clock is sped up a little bit and they don't have time to think and dwell. Look, the sample size is pretty low on what Brissett did a year ago, splitting time with Tua down in Miami. But I think the people that are burying the Browns simply because Brissett is their quarterback are being a little hasty, especially when you remember that he can turn around and hand the ball to Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt and Dearness Johnson, and they can follow Wyatt Teller and Joel Bitonio and the best interior offensive line in the league. Ethan Posick even is a pretty quality run blocking center. That's an easy recipe for success in this one. And if you look at the Panthers, they're not built to stop a power run attack. That's just not the way that they are. Their defensive ends are very light. I believe Brian Burns plays at 232 pounds or something like that. You can move that guy. And when they're moved, you better believe that the Browns have the backs that can find those holes.
Other thing about it, and you brought this up when we were talking pre-show, weather is not supposed to be good in Carolina. It's supposed to rain pretty much all day Saturday, most of the day Sunday. That would have to favor the Browns, I would think. Yeah,
and I'm probably reading more into it than I should, but maybe, just maybe, it convinces Kevin Stefanski to run the ball more. He got away from the run a little too much for my liking last season. We've talked about that before. If it's raining out, if it's bad, the receivers, for whatever, they're not catching the ball well in warmups or something. He'll realize that we can run this ball more. And I think that, again, plays to the strengths of the team. Then you got the other side. Baker throws the ball, doesn't throw it with a great deal of touch on the shorter throws. We watched Jarvis Landry and David Njoku have balls bounce off them for years because Baker doesn't take anything off that. Baker has a lot of criticisms. The one that's invalid, he has a strong arm. I think we can all agree on that. But he doesn't always use it judiciously. And, he's working with new receivers that he doesn't have the chemistry with. Same with Brissett, obviously. But I like the idea of the sloppy track and the sloppy conditions. Now, obviously, the field's going to be fine, but it gives an advantage to a team that can definitely run the ball and run the ball right at you and do things that way. And I think the Browns are better equipped to do that. And I also think that their pass rush will take advantage of it. When you've got power rushers that can get a rookie tackle on skates, Taylor Moton, another right tackle on the other side, is a guy. A big burly guy, doesn't actually play very strong though. Like if Clowney can get up into his pads and push him back, you're going to have a lot of success with the wet conditions in that. So I think it plays into the advantage of the Browns.
Jeff Risdon from BrownsWire.com and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of the break, we'll head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Viewers key to this game. We'll also hear from Christian McCaffrey about Baker Mayfield. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
The Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame celebrates the star athletes and notable sports figures who were born or have made their home in Greater Cleveland. It tells the story of discipline, commitment, perseverance, sportsmanship, and excellence in achievement. It encourages and inspires those who believe in sport and its direct impact on the well-being of our community. Go to clevelandsportshall.com or follow us on Twitter at GCLE Sports HOF for more details.
We continue talking Browns with Jeff Risdon from BrownsWire.com. Let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one about a key for the Browns to win this Panthers game.
Hello, this is Neville from Florida. Yeah, I think the key for our victory this week, and I'm not one of these, hey, we need to have, 5 Hall of Famers on each side of the line, but I think our D-line needs to put pressure on Baker, so he's doing too much. We know how he is, takeover or a turnover machine when he is pressured and feels like he has to do too much. So I think it's on our D-line to get serious pressure on Baker and stop their run. As far as our game offensively, the O-line is important. Get the run going, keep Brissett from needing to do too much, so opposite of Baker. And I think we got a great chance. Go Browns.
All right, as always, appreciate the voicemails. Jeff, the pressure on Baker, even containing him and not letting him run free. There's a couple of things that seem to frustrate him.
Yeah, absolutely. You contain him, because he likes to do those, and we saw it very well. He's good at rollouts. He's good at bootlegs and things like that. He likes to throw off of that. Now, he wasn't always effective at that, but he enjoys doing that. And the way that you rattle him, you don't let him do what he wants to do. You have that outside contain to keep him in the pocket. You keep a linebacker spy in the middle. Look, Baker's not a great running threat, but he can run. We've seen that. But if you can limit that, you can make him make that quick decision. If you watched the game last night, where Josh Allen was down in the red zone and he started to run forward and he tried that little flip pass into the end zone to Stephon Diggs and it got broken up at the last second. That's a Baker Mayfield kind of play. And if you can frustrate him and not let him get that type of thing, look, then he will take more chances. We talked about it in the last segment. He's a guy that he will get frustrated if things aren't going well, and he will press the issue. Sometimes it works, and we do have to be wary of that. But a lot of times it doesn't, and that's when you get bad Baker, and that's another reason why he's in Carolina now and not in Cleveland anymore.
All right, so Christian McCaffrey, scheduled to play, although he did get cleated and kind of tore up his shin a little bit. McCaffrey talked about what he has seen so far from Baker Mayfield.
Baker's on a new team, so anybody's reputation in the past is the past. So for us, it's just about this week, and sometimes there'll be times where those plays need to be made by us, and then times where maybe we're more efficient. But I'm not a quarterback, so I don't know. My job's just to be in the right spot and be ready for him wherever he wants to throw the ball or in pass protection and in the run game. He's incredibly smart and a talented quarterback, obviously. So he was putting the ball on the money day one. So we're excited to roll out Sunday.
And again, McCaffrey got cleated in practice, but is coming back from injury. Not sure how the workload will be from him. He is a guy that will cause problems for a defense.
He is a dangerous player. He was, and I'm one of them. I took him number 1 overall in fantasy last year. Didn't work out so well because he got hurt again. And he's just snake bit with the injuries. I mean, getting cleated, I think he needed some stitches in his shin. That's a rough way to start for your to coming back from your injuries. But yeah, he's dangerous. And where he scares me, honestly, is him flowing out of the backfield and catching passes as an outlet receiver or on running back wheel routes. Look, JOK, I love that guy in the middle of the field. He's great at what he does. Christian McCaffrey is too. There's a reason why that guy was drafted where he was and why he is so touted. If he's on the field, he's dangerous. He needs to be accounted for. Look, but Baker does know how to use weapons fairly intelligently most of the time. You can't keep burying Baker because he did do some good things in Cleveland. You do have to acknowledge that there was some positives there. And if the Panthers play to those positives, that's going to be a formidable challenge. And having Christian McCaffrey as one of the best weapons out of the backfield, that's certainly one of those that you have to contain. If you can keep him from catching more than 2 or 3 passes, tackle him shortly after he catches it. That's a big part of what Carolina wants to do offensively. If you can shut that down, and the Browns do have the personnel to shut it down, even without Greedy Williams on the field. I'm going to feel pretty good about how the Browns defense matches up against this Carolina offense.
Yep, they need the speed that they have there for Christian McCaffrey without question. All right, special teams coach Mike Prefer on what Cade York has to refine in his kicking, what they're working on, if you will.
He works a lot on his body position, and he works a lot with his plant foot, making sure it's not too far back, whether or not that plant leg there's a little bit of knee bend in there or not. So those are the things he'll take a look at. We'll really focus on maybe one thing every time we practice, because you don't want a young guy, or any kicker for that matter, or punter, thinking about too many things at once. So it's just the little technique issues that he's got to continue to work on to be more consistent, but it's all there. You just got to, like anything else, it's like, I'm not a golfer. You guys saw me swing, you'd understand why. But I think when you take a golfer, any specialist, there's always something you're going to have to work on. And, he didn't kick for 10 days, and yesterday he came out, and he was 16 of 18 on the side, and he was mad that he didn't do, make all 18. And I said, look, you haven't kicked in 10 days, and he went out and did a great job for us. So we're resting up that leg, and now he's refreshed, and he's ready to roll.
All right, Jeff, the thoughts about resting the leg for 10 days before leading up to that opener?
That's a little concerning, isn't it? I mean, this is a rookie kicker fresh out of college, and you've got to rest him already? I don't know how common that is. It seems fairly, I've never heard of it before, especially for that length of time. Yeah, it's a little concerning because he is a weapon. He's fan favorite. We saw it in the preseason. My goodness, when he came on the field, cheers. Probably the loudest cheers of the game. And he can hit those 60 yarders. He hit the 72-yarder in practice. My Browns Wire partner, Jarrett Mueller, was there and videotaped it. It's there. You have to hope that I hope that they realize how to pace him as much as they're talking, with the technical refinement of, the mechanics of kicking the football. Because Prefer's right. You do have to have everything just so right. And it does change a little bit based on the distance you are out. You kick a 40-yard field goal different than you attempt a 55-yard field goal. The mechanics of kicking the ball are a little bit different, and your plant leg and your hip opening and things like that. As long as he's got that, I'm not going to be too worried. But if they got to rest him again, I want to see him in every practice from now on. If they're having to rest him, that's not a good sign.
Always looking for something. Here's the thing. Take the 3 points when you have it this year, because you're going to need to do that. That's the main thing with Cade York. All right, Jeff Risdon and I are going to step aside, take one more time out. Other side of the break, we'll head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Also, 3 bold predictions for the Browns season from Pro Football Focus. Sports4CLE, be right back. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
The Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame celebrates the star athletes and notable sports figures who were born or have made their home in Greater Cleveland. It tells the story of discipline, commitment, perseverance, sportsmanship, and excellence in achievement. It encourages and inspires those who believe in sport and its direct impact on the well-being of our community. Go to clevelandsportshall.com or follow us on Twitter at GCLE Sports HOF for more details.
We continue talking Browns with Jeff Risdon from BrownsWire.com. Let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one about the Browns' 2 weaknesses: defensive tackle, wide receiver.
Hi, this is Ron from down in Cleveland. Love the show, listen all the time. My question is to you guys today is, do you feel like Barry is just going to let this season play out and let it go where it's going to go, and then address a couple problems in the offseason with our wide receivers and our defensive tackles? Because it doesn't seem like he really wants to make any moves right now with Deshaun being out. I don't know. It just feels like this might be a lost season. And if we win, great. If not, no big deal. He's just going to fire it up next year. Tell me what you think about that. Thanks so much, guys. Love your show. Browns forever. Woof.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. Jeff, I don't know that it's viewed as a lost season. I think they kind of work around, if you will, the defensive tackle position. It's not a premium position. And I think with wide receiver, they're counting on Deshaun Watson to kind of elevate the play, and they like some of the younger guys.
Yeah, and I think going into the season, I think they hoped they would get more development out of Anthony Schwartz and Donovan Peoples-Jones. I think not having Jakeem Grant hurts there too. I think the internal progress that they thought that they would get by adding Amari Cooper, who is a very good wide receiver, and I think we're going to see that better in the regular season than we did in the preseason. I think that's where the wide receiver is. Defensive tackle, it does seem like they're, to use the Moneyball term, that's where they're going to Moneyball. They're going to go cheap. They're going to just try to find effective bodies with low cost and low upside at defensive tackle. That seems to be their strategy. Maybe that'll change this coming off season. We'll see. But I certainly wouldn't call it a lost off season. I would say that, or a lost season. I would say that you probably, if the wide receiving core doesn't get better this year, I think you're going to see AB get after it next offseason, realizing that, okay, the Anthony Schwartz experiment might not be working if it doesn't progress quickly. You're going to see some wide receivers that are out there that are going to be more economical than the market was this year. I mean, paying Christian Kirk what Jacksonville did, my goodness, I wouldn't want the Browns to do that. And Christian Kirk's a very good receiver, but you gotta have some balance there. That's going to be one to watch the entire year.
Yeah, I would agree. And let's see what becomes with Jordan Elliott. He's been impressive. Let's see if he carries it over. Does it play during the regular season? All right, before I let you go, 3 bold predictions for the Browns season. This is from Sam Monson, Pro Football Focus. Number 1, Myles Garrett will be Defensive Player of the Year. Number 2, Cade York will be the best graded kicker in the entire NFL. Number 3, Cleveland's O-line will rank outside of the top 10. Of all of those, if 3 happens, that is probably the biggest problem for the Browns. If the O-line is not quite what they need it to be, that's going to be. I think that's going to be big trouble.
It is, and it is a valid question. They did lose J.C. Treader out of the middle, and J.C. played pretty darn well last season. And then the guy that you were going to have replace him, Nick Harris, the guy that you had all the confidence in, he's gone too. There's a lot of pressure on Jedrick Wills stepping up in his 3rd season. There's a lot of pressure on Jack Conklin to stay on the field and be as effective as he can be. I think we all feel pretty good about Teller and Bitonio, but there's some flexibility and downward potential for this offensive line, and that would be a massive problem for this team. As for Sam's other ones, look, I love Sam. I love the Cade York hype. That's asking a lot for a rookie kicker, especially a guy that we just talked about having to rest his leg already. I hope it happens. My personal hope is that I hope he kicks 1 over 60 yards this year at home to win a game. I think that would be phenomenal. That would be we got our Phil Dawson replacement finally. Myles, I have the same prediction that he does. I think he's going to win Defensive Player of the Year. I think he's going to lead the league in sacks, and I think he's going to be a big reason why the Browns have a top 3 defense. They have some holes in the middle. They have, I think we forget sometimes how good JOK is at that second level, how good John Johnson finished last year, how well coordinated this defense got once they started playing together a little bit. I think you're going to see Myles Garrett be the ringleader of a very, very good defense, and that's how the Browns are going to win games this year.
Yeah, they're going to need it, especially those first 11. As always, great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Jeff.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right, Jeff Risdon, make sure you read him, brownswire.com. We're step aside, take a quick time out, other side of the break. Brad Ward, straight ahead. We continue talking Browns. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
The Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame celebrates the star athletes and notable sports figures who were born or have made their home in Greater Cleveland. It tells the story of discipline, commitment, perseverance, sportsmanship, and excellence in achievement. It encourages and inspires those who believe in sport and its direct impact on the well-being of our community. Go to clevelandsportshall.com or follow us on Twitter at GCLE Sports HOF for more details.
Sports for CLE continues. We continue talking Browns. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one about thoughts on the 2022 Browns.
Hi, this is Greg out in Oregon. Dad took me to my first Browns game in 1954, and I've been stuck with the Browns ever since. My thing is, I haven't heard anybody mention this, but I know the team that controls the line of scrimmage wins ball games. The Browns have a great offensive line, and when healthy, they will win ball games. Go Browns. Woof, woof.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. Let's welcome in Brad Ward, BrownsWire.com, as well as the host on the All Eyez on Cleveland podcast. Brad, I agree with the caller. The national narrative that the Panthers are going to beat the Browns doesn't take into account the deficiencies on both sides of the line for the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, definitely. You know, they had some weird numbers the way their defense finished last year. I think they were second overall in defense, but like 21st in points, and they were like 30th in the red zone. One thing that they really struggled with, though, Dave, is the run game, right? Like they really struggled to stop the run. And although they have a lot of talent on that side of the ball, it's light talent, right? Like their Phil Snow wants to keep athletes, fast guys on the field, similar to Joe Woods in that way a little bit, but he's very multiple with his fronts and things like that. So if the one area where I think the Browns will attack is I think you'll see them run at the edges, at the perimeter. If you run right at guys like Brian Burns and even to the right side, I think they'll have a lot of success there. I think analytics-wise, the numbers show that they were very, very poor at stopping the run when you're talking about off of tackle last season. So if you're looking to exploit that line of scrimmage, I think that you want to make sure you're patient with the run game, even if you get behind early, right? And I think that you want to attack those off the tackle. And I think you'll have some success there because although those corners and guys are pretty athletic and fast, they have a rather light defense on the field a lot of times. So hopefully that offensive line can dominate there and get some good push. And I think they will, actually. So.
Yeah, that's got to be the way the Browns are leaning, so we'll see how that goes. When you look over at the Panthers offense, an interesting question that you brought up pre-show. Will the Browns face the Panthers offense that's more Ben McAdoo, their new offensive coordinator, or do they try to tailor it to Baker Mayfield? What are your thoughts and kind of distinguish between what your thought the two differences would be?
Yeah, so, we saw with Stefanski and Mayfield where Stefanski used heavy personnel, lots of play action, and a lot of run game to an elite run game to kind of relieve the responsibilities of Baker Mayfield in his progressions, in his pocket management, and his volume of throwing. When you talk about looking at what Ben McAdoo has done over his career, and really you kind of focus on when he was really in charge, and he's from the Mike McCarthy tree. So it's very similar to what Mike McCarthy has run, but like with Eli Manning when he was in charge in New York for 3 years. They were in the bottom third of the league, I think 23rd, 29th, and 21st, respectively, in play action. They do a lot of shotgun. They like to spread it out, and he's more of a straight, true drop-back passer type. Now, is he the kind of guy that will make wholesale changes to what his core offense is? I don't think so. I think they'll tweak it for Mayfield, but I think you're going to see them ask Mayfield to be more of what we said that we didn't really, a lot of people, at least the narrative in Cleveland was that he can't be like a straight, true drop-back passer and be successful in the NFL. I think that's what the Panthers are going to ask him to do because that's McAdoo's offense at its core.
And it'll be interesting to see if Baker Mayfield can adapt and do that, if in fact that is what the Panthers ask him to do. This from Doug Pound-Daly. 5 Browns players to watch week 1. We're going to start number 5, Jordan Elliott, and that one intrigues me. I thought he flashed a little bit in the preseason. They really need one of those defensive tackles to kind of take a hold and ascend and really become the guy in the middle of that defense, I think. What are your thoughts about Elliott?
Yeah, I thought he looked good. Surprisingly, I thought Taven Bryan looked pretty good too. Together, at least they were getting some movement up there, right? And that's all you really want them to do is clog things up and let your JOKs and your edges, come in and make tackles. But if they can just kind of clog up those holes and disrupt, then they'll do their job up there. And this is going to be kind of as we talked about all off season. I think they'll approach this position by committee for the most part. And I think we'll see a lot of rotations in there, but I think that Jordan Elliott is the best 8 we've got going. And I think he proved that in the preseason.
All right, we're going to take a look at 3 offensive players here. So number 4, David Njoku, tight end. And, the Browns really do need him to be a factor. And they paid him like a number 1 tight end. They expect him to be a number 1 tight end. Let's see how that goes. Number 3 is the quarterback, Jacoby Brissett. You could put him, at the top of this list for all intents and purposes. Number 2 is Kareem Hunt. And again, when healthy, has been a red zone threat. So you look at Njoku, Brissett, and Hunt. Let's talk about those 3 and what the Browns need from them, especially week 1.
I think you need a lot from Njoku, right? Like, I think that this is, you gave him the big contract. You're going to have to go to him with volume. And the interesting thing in talking to John Ellis, the guy that covers the Panthers on my show, he thinks that they will use J.C. Horn down in the box on Njoku when he's in the game. So that's an interesting matchup to watch. And see if they actually do that, because that'll be really intriguing. J.C. Horn is a more physical corner, and they're going to try to kind of match up with Njoku's athleticism with J.C. Horn. So I look for that matchup to be very intriguing on Sunday. Obviously, Brissett has to be good. He has to be mistake-free. And the thing about this is like, I think Stefanski can outcoach Matt Rule schematically. So when the throws are there and there are guys open, you can't miss those opportunities. So it's not about being a great quarterback. It's about just taking advantage when there's guys wide open and hitting those passes. And those are the explosives that you're going to need. And you're going to have to hit them when they're there. Like, they're not going to be there all game. But when he schemes something open, as we watched Baker miss guys open a lot last year, probably something mental or with his shoulder, I think that you want to see Brissett put the ball on the money in those situations. So be opportunistic is kind of my thought there with Brissett.
And Hunt is a guy, when healthy, he's a red zone threat just because he's very multiple. There's a lot he can do.
Yeah, I think they'll use him a lot out of the backfield with this wide receiver room being kind of not what we want it to be. I think you use Hunt as a weapon out of the backfield. So, and I wouldn't be surprised that, if we see a little bit more Hunt and Chubb on the field at the same time. You can do some misdirection, get Hunt the ball in some screen situations, catch them in a pressure, and maybe he breaks a big one. But I think that you absolutely have to use both of those guys. They're 2 of your best weapons. So find a way to make them a big part of what you're doing no matter what.
And the number 1 guy to watch in week 1, according to Dog Pound Daily, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, linebacker. And again, the thought there is he is likely to draw covering Christian McCaffrey. I've said it all week. This Browns defense is more equipped than most to deal with a guy like Christian McCaffrey because they've got the speed at the linebacker position in Phillips and Owusu-Koramoah.
Yeah, I think that JOK is just so fun to watch, watching him in the preseason. And I think he's going to be exceptional. I think we saw him last year have a breakout year, but I think he's going to be so much fun to watch. So as a Browns fan, enjoy watching him because he just flies to the ball. He will do a great job with McCaffrey. It'll be interesting to see how McAdoo uses him, right? Like, it'll be really interesting to see how he uses him. So, but I think that they're going to depend a lot on that speed, as you mentioned, and that linebacker on the second level to kind of keep him, just keep him under wraps. He's going to get his yards, but just don't let him hit the big one, right? And it's interesting, last thought on this game here before, I think that Joe Woods, as we've seen in the past, will try to take away the big play, try to make the other team go on 10, 12, 14 play drives. And if you can do that with Baker Mayfield and potentially a very emotional and fired up Baker Mayfield, try to make him take the underneath stuff, the easy stuff. Can he be patient enough to do that over a 10 play, 12 play drive in this situation, in this game? Is he going to try to squeeze one in a tight window when maybe he has a check down that's there? I think that playing that game against Mayfield in this offense leans itself to potentially turning them over a couple times. So I think that you want to take away no big plays, make them work for it, make them go on long drives and try to turn it over 6.
Brad Ward, as always, appreciate the time and the insight. Great stuff, Brad. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Dave.
All right, Brad Ward, make sure you read him, brownswire.com. Also, the host of the All Eyez on Cleveland podcast. We're step aside, take us out of the break. Offensive line film breakdown with Lance Risdon, Sports for CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
The Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame celebrates the star athletes and notable sports figures who were born or have made their home in Greater Cleveland. It tells the story of discipline, commitment, perseverance, sportsmanship, and excellence in achievement. It encourages and inspires those who believe in sport and its direct impact on the well-being of our community. Go to clevelandsportshall.com or follow us on Twitter at GCLE Sports HOF for more details.
Sports for CLE continues. We continue talking Browns. We're going to shift our attention to the offensive line. If the Browns are going to be successful, especially those first 11 weeks with Jacoby Brissett as the quarterback, going to have to run the football, and that means the offensive line. Let's welcome in Lance Risdon, our film breakdown specialist from cleveland.com, plain dealer. Lance, as a former coach, a lot of people pay attention to the running backs, but those 5 guys up front are the reason that any run game goes on any level of football, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Both sides of the ball. You win up front. You hear that terminology coaches use all the time. You win up front, and that is absolutely true. With the Browns, being at camp for 3 weeks, it was my favorite part of the day is watching them and Coach Callahan work. They're so detailed. They're so organized. There's a purpose for everything they do. I think the Browns, a lot of people have predictions on the Browns, but I think they're going to be okay because of that offensive line.
When you look at it, 3 of the guys that are back were elite, and I'm counting Jack Conklin in that. He may not be back in week 1, but he's expected to be back and be healthy. Teller, Bitonio, Conklin, you can make a case all of those guys are Pro Bowl caliber offensive linemen in the NFL.
Oh, absolutely. And when you watch them work, there's a definite reason. They're all And it kind of is an extension of Callahan and kind of the culture he's created down there. But when they go down there, there's a purpose to what they're doing. And those guys, obviously, I've always been a big believer in players over plays. But when you have those elite guys, it makes it a lot easier. But the Browns have been very good up front when they have backups in. And that's a credit to Coach Callahan and what he does down there and what the system is. But, yeah, those 4 guys, watching them work is pretty impressive.
All right, let's take a look at some of the film that you have for us, again, all in training camp. So first one, Jedrick Wills, Harrison Bryant. So it's a tackle, tight end, and that double team block. What do you see here? What are the Browns working on in this drill?
Well, it's they're going to work on an odd front here. So they're expecting an odd front where the tackle is going to be covered. And they're going to double team here, and Jedrick's going to start the double, and Bryant is going to be, he's the guy who's going to attack that hip and kind of attack that edge, and he's going to get to the second level. So this would be on their gap schemes. Again, a lot of their runs are in that 6 to 8 hole, that tackle area. So this would be a tray block, and they're going to work on doubling that 5 technique, covering the tackle, and getting to that second level.
And again, the importance, and you see Bryant coming off trying to get to that second level there. The importance of that is that kind of is what turns a decent gain into a long gain, correct? If you can get a guy on that second level, it just creates more of that seam through.
Yeah, absolutely. And they do a really good job of also kind of defining that hole. So their backside is to the hole a lot when they're running the ball. They do a really good job of defining where they want the ball. I think obviously their film study, the things they do in practice, their attention to detail. So yeah, they do not only a good job of getting to the second level, but defining where they're going to run the ball on that first level.
The other one, we're going to take a look at another group working together, Hubbard and Wyatt Teller. So a tackle guard double team. Take us through this and kind of what they're working on in these drills.
Well, this would be the deuce block. So the last film we had was a tray block and odd front that they would see. This would be a deuce block. This would be at the Browns see a 4 front. So the guard's going to be covered, and this is a 3 technique. And once again, Teller's going to be the strong guy here, the post guy here, and Hubbard's going to gallop in, and we call it a gallop technique. He's going to gallop in with his left foot. He's going to start with his left foot, and he's going to be the guy who comes off from the second level here. So they're working a double team versus an even front, a 3 technique. And Teller is the mainstay. Everybody has their different calls for it, but he's the mainstay in this double, and Hubbard's going to kind of attack that hip, throw it across, and get to the second level.
And in this scheme that the Browns run, how important is it to the timing between when that guy comes off and gets to the second level? Where are they trying to time that relative to the back?
Well, their job is to vertically displace that defensive tackle, we say. So their job is to get him moving backwards. So the back will kind of, there's not really a moment when they're coming off. They're going to double team that guy. They're going to move him first. We always say there's no second level without the first level. So they're going to move that first level first. And then when they feel that movement and they kind of read that backer, they're going to come off. Because if the backer goes inside, the inside guy, the double, can come off as well.
All right, let's take a look. This is a drill that is being done by Jedrick Wills, and it is for the outside zone. What is the teaching point? What are they working on here with Jedrick Wills?
Well, first thing they're doing is they're working the outside zone here, and the key of the outside zone is to get your inside arm to the outside shoulder. And when you get your inside arm to the outside shoulder, it allows you to get square. And I used to say belly to belly with the defensive lineman. So as you get square with the defensive lineman, now you can kind of dictate where he's going, and you're steering the boat, not him. So if you get your outside arm in, he can beat you across your face and penetrate. So he's working on getting his inside arm in and running him and kind of creating that lane, taking him wherever he wants to go.
And I know you were paying a lot of attention to Jedrick Wills. How is he moving? And, you know, I've said it repeatedly. A tackle that has a high ankle sprain, you can't set a low, strong base. That was a tough injury for Wills a season ago. How was he moving out at camp, and what have you seen even as you've watched him through the preseason?
Well, I was very impressed with him at camp. I thought his feet were fantastic. I didn't realize, you know, when you watched last year, you really didn't understand how bad that ankle was. And obviously I wasn't at training camp last year, but I was every day this year. And I really enjoyed watching him not only move his feet are fantastic, but the physicality. And I've always thought he was more of a position blocker, which is okay. But he showed in the last preseason game that he's also getting more and more physical. And it's tough to be physical, like you said, without that base. So he's become, I think he fits right in. I think he's going to be an elite guy because of those feet.
And again, an important guy playing that left tackle position. They expect big things from year 3. So hopefully he can stay healthy and get back to what he had done before last year when he was banged up pretty much all year. Let's take a look. Joel Bitonio, one of the guys that we mentioned, just working on pass protection. What do you see with Bitonio? By all accounts, one of the top guards in the NFL.
Well, right here, he's working. We do it once again. They work everything. So in those previous drills, they're working gap schemes. They're working zone schemes. Now they're working one-on-one pass rush. Here he is against Perrion Winfrey. And Perrion Winfrey usually can always win in college because those college D linemen are just better. And in the pros, those defensive linemen are, especially the Browns defensive linemen, are going to get really, really good because they're going against really good people each day. So this is a quick set. So he's not dropping back. He's quick setting. Everybody does a little bit differently, but basically the object here is to get your hands on and get the defensive line stopped and get his hands down because the ball's coming out quick from the quarterback.
All right, and we have another one that's a pass protection set. Ethan Posick, going to be the starting center. And how important is that, center in pass protection, controlling the middle of the field? Let's even go center guards. How important are they in pass protection?
They're setting it. So if you get there's a bunch of different pass protections, but that center usually is the guy, calling out the fronts. At that level, I know those guys all know the fronts, but basically the center is running the show. So they're going to call out the odd and even fronts. Obviously, they're working odd front, so he would be covered. The thing that's impressive is that the Browns, the offensive line, that's why they've had success, because Posick went in, and there's, even though I think Harris is a great player, and I wrote an article on him earlier, I think he's going to be an outstanding player. They don't miss a beat, and they don't miss a beat in terms of how they practice, their attention to detail. So he came in, that particular drill, they're working on their hand placement. They're so detailed. They're working on like opposite hands and individual hands and where individual hands should be placed in pass protection. Again, just really fun to watch. But those centers and guards are very important. I think he's got an advantage because he's got 2 All-Pros next to him on either side.
When you look at the passing game, pressure up, and again, the old saying, pressure in the middle drives any quarterback crazy because there's really nowhere to move. So how important relative to what they need to do with the quick passing game with Jacoby Brissett is protection between those guards in the center?
Like you said, I think Brissett is really successful under 15 yards. He's accurate, and I think those quick sets are going to be very important for the Browns. So they're going to work on getting their hands on, sometimes you don't overcoach it. Basically, you got to get in front of that guy and you got to get his hands down and you got to not let him push you back at all. Because like you said, the visual for a quarterback is always downfield. And if you feel that pressure coming inside, sometimes it gets you off your mark. Brissett's a big guy. It doesn't seem like he's rattled by pressure. And if the Browns can run the ball, it will always go back to running the ball for me. If the Browns can run the ball, then those defensive linemen aren't teeing off on the pass.
Yeah, and again, you mentioned it. Brissett, he's built more like a linebacker than he is, a smaller quarterback. A big physical guy, and his MO is he will stand in there in the pocket.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And when you see him at camp, he seems to have a really good handle of what he's doing. So he's going to get the Browns into the right play, whether it be the run play or the pass play. He seems to know where pressure is going to come from. He's big enough that he can see, I don't say over people. I think looking over offensive linemen is always overrated, but he understands where to slide, where the lanes are going to be to see. And he's pretty fearless. He's a veteran. I think he'll fit right in. I think he's going to have, because of the run game and because of what they do with the tight end and what Cooper can do outside, I think the Browns are going to be a lot better on offense, especially this first 11 weeks, than people give them credit for.
Lance Reisland, as always, thanks so much for the time and the insight. Appreciate it very much, Coach.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, as always.
Again, Lance Reisland with the film breakdown of the offensive line. We're going to step aside, take a quick timeout. Other side of the break, predictions from you and from me. Sports4CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
The Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame celebrates the star athletes and notable sports figures who were born or have made their home in Greater Cleveland. It tells the story of discipline, commitment, perseverance, sportsmanship, and excellence in achievement. It encourages and inspires those who believe in sport and its direct impact on the well-being of our community. Go to clevelandsportshall.com or follow us on Twitter at GCLE Sports HOF for more details.
Before we go for the weekend, let's take a look at the Browns against the Panthers week 1. We asked you for your predictions. Here is what you think is going to happen Sunday at 1 o'clock in the Browns opener against Carolina.
Yeah, Dave, this is your boy from Vegas. Wants to call and give predictions. I just have a couple things to say here. I think that everybody, even the national media, everybody wants to see the Browns fail this year. Bad. I'm going to give this to Cleveland. I'm going to give you my prediction from a Vegas man who does this for a living. Cleveland, 24. Panthers, 3. Go Browns.
Hi, this is Ted Moon from South Carolina. And my comment for today is that the Browns are going to win this game 27-14. The Browns defense is going to step up and squash Baker and his comments that he cannot live up to. His defense cannot live up to. Christian McCaffrey is not going to have a game like he thinks he's going to have. And the rest of the Browns are going to live up and do their jobs like they've been talking about. They're going to do their job. We're going to look for even Anthony Schwartz is going to have 4 catches. But I believe that Mr. Bell is going to have 6 catches for about 90 yards and a touchdown. Look for 2 takeaways on the defense and for us to win the turnover battle. And the Browns win. So anyway, gentlemen, thank you for listening. Go Browns. Woo!
Yeah, from Youngstown. My prediction for the Browns game Sunday is 24-10 Cleveland Browns. Thanks for taking my call. Love the show.
Hey, Dave, lifetime Browns fan here, so it gives me no pleasure to make this prediction for Game 1. The Browns do what they have been doing since 1999. They find a way to lose their opening game. Carolina 22, Cleveland 20. The key stat has to do with number 22 in the Carolina blue. Christian McCaffrey is going to have over 200 yards total offense. They're going to feed him the ball between the tackles, find a way to get him the ball on screens and short passes. Browns just won't have enough offense to counter that. Browns fall again in week 1. But let me add this. I hope I'm wrong. Go Browns.
Dave, my prediction for the game Sunday, Browns 24, Panthers 9. I believe the defense is going to come up big, not allowing a touchdown. I also believe the defense will score a touchdown with either an interception return or a forced fumble return for a touchdown. Offensively, I think we'll be pleasantly surprised at Jacoby Brissett and a huge game from Chubb and Hunt. And the last thing, Cade York will kick a field goal over 50 yards.
Hey guys, on this weekend's game, looking for Joe Woods to slow down Carolina's 2 top weapons, running back Christian McCaffrey, and wide receiver DJ Moore. Our D linemen need to bat some balls down to frustrate Baker, much like Pittsburgh has done in the past. Need to send JOK or the slot corner on some timely blitzes on obvious passing downs, wrecking Baker's world. Want to see us get at least 2 turnovers from Baker. On offense, ball control with the running game, mixing in short passes that create yards after the catch, and please, no turnovers. Also, no going for it on 4th down unless it's 4th and 1 and deep in Carolina territory. We got a weapon now. Let's kick the field goal, Coach. I'm predicting a 19-17 score in favor of the Browns, with Cade York making his 4th field goal of the game and kicking the game winner as time runs out. Let's do it. Go Browns.
All right, a dramatic prediction there. I'm going to go with the Browns winning 24-20. And I think it's going to be Chubb and Hunt. I think they run for about 175 yards combined, a couple of touchdowns, and I think the Browns win the turnover battle. We will talk about what actually happens Monday at 4 o'clock. That's all we have time for on this edition of Sports for CLE. We'll see you back here Monday at 4. We will talk plenty about the Browns and Panthers opener. Did anybody get the predictions right? We'll find out Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody. Enjoy the opener. We'll see you Monday at 4 on Sports for CLE.